right, so are you ready to dive into one of the most mysterious parts of the Harry Potter world?
I think so. Let me grab my time turner just in case.
Haha, very good. But no time turners needed today because we're talking about something even weirder than time travel.
Huh.
We're going deep into the Department of Mystery, specifically the Veil. And, you listeners have sent in some passages from the books that are just, I don't know, they're just really thought-provoking, right? Like, it seems like we're going beyond just spells and Quidditch today and, like, thinking about life and death.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, what's really fascinating is that the veil seems to tap into this like human fascination with the unknown, right? Like we've always wondered about what's out there, what happens after we die.
Exactly. And the veil is almost like this like physical manifestation of that fear and also curiosity. Like it's literally shrouded in whispers and shadows. And it just raises all these questions about what lies beyond, you know what I mean?
Total.
So, okay, before we get too deep into all that, let's set the scene a little bit. We're in the Department of Mysteries, which is already like the most secretive part of the Ministry of Magic.
Right, salute.
Like even more secretive than like the minister's office or whatever. So what's the vibe like in there? Like if you had to describe it.
Uh, it's like imagine a place where magic itself is being studied under a microscope,
Yeah.
Rooms dedicated to time, love, thought, things that even the most accomplished wizards haven't fully grasped. And then there's the death chamber where the veil is, and it's just eerie.
Eerie how?
Well, it's described as an archway, but it's shimmering, almost like a dark window or something.
Ooh, that's creepy. And like this is where Sirius Black falls through, right? During that battle with the Death Eaters in Order of the Phoenix.
Exactly.
And that's got to be like a huge part of why this object is so fascinating to so many people, and especially for Harry. Like that adds a whole other layer to it, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. It makes it personal, It's
Yeah.
not just some abstract magical object anymore. It's connected to this really tragic loss.
Yeah, for sure. And then there are those whispers that people hear, right? The ones coming from the veil.
Yeah. And the thing is, those whispers can only be heard by people who have witnessed death.
Okay, so that is where things get really interesting. Those whispers,
Hmm.
are they like voices from the other side? Are those who've passed through trying to reach out?
Well, nobody knows for sure, but it definitely raises the question, right? Like, what happens when we die? Is there something beyond this life? And if so, can the veil, give us a glimpse?
Right. It's like, what if it is a gateway to the afterlife?
It's a very compelling theory.
Totally. And I think some fans even theorize that, like, the veil is older than the ministry, like way older.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And that's a popular one. And there's some evidence to support it, too, when you think about what Dumbledore says in Half-Blood Prince about Voldemort and how he's seeking immortality. But beyond what's considered usual evil, he
Oh.
links it to the veil, right? Like maybe it's connected to this older, more powerful magic, something that even Voldemort doesn't fully understand.
So maybe, like, the veil has just been there forever,
Mhm.
Like, since the dawn of time, watching civilizations rise and fall. And the ministry is just, well, the ministry, they're focused on, like, cauldron bottom thickness and making sure nobody uses magic in front of muggles. But they don't really understand the veil.
Yeah, exactly. Like they try to study it, but they're so focused on control, on regulations and bureaucracy, and they're totally out of their depth with something like this. Like it's this stark contrast between what the veil represents and how the ministry tries to approach it.
It's like they're trying to put a label on something that fundamentally defies definition, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so we have to talk about the big theory.
Hmm.
Is it a gateway to the afterlife?
Well, what do we know for sure? Nobody who's gone through it has ever come back. That we know of.
Right. And those whispers, remember? Only those who've seen death can hear them. It adds weight to the theory, right?
Yeah, it's hard to ignore that detail, for sure.
And speaking of things that are only visible to people who have experienced death, let's talk about thestrals. You know those creepy skeletal winged horses that nobody wants to talk about?
Right.
So why can only certain people see them? People who've seen death. And it's like both the veil and thestrals. they're both tied to death in this very specific way, right? Like it impacts perception somehow, almost as if they exist on this like boundary between life and death.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, right? Like, what does that tell us about death, about how we perceive the world? And there's that bit in Order of the Phoenix where Hagrid talks about how angry the centaurs were after Firenze left the forest, to teach at Hogwarts.
Oh, right, like they thought it was taboo or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe there's some knowledge that's just forbidden, or
Mm.
maybe it's just dangerous to acquire. Like there's some things we're just not meant to understand.
Ooh, that's a good point. So, okay, let's assume for a minute that the Veil IS, a gateway to the afterlife. Is the ministry trying to, like, unlock its secrets? And what would that even mean?
Well, that's where things get really, really tricky, ethically speaking, because the ministry, as we know, has a bit of a history of meddling with forces they don't fully understand. Like, look at the Department of Mysteries itself, right? You've got rooms dedicated to studying time turners, prophecies, even human brains.
And let's not forget Bertha Jorkins.
Oh, right. Yeah.
She disappeared, and it's hinted that she might have encountered Voldemort and learned something, maybe something related to the Veil, right?
Oh.
And it's like, the ministry, they're always on this quest for control, but sometimes their pursuit of knowledge leads them into some pretty dark places.
Yeah, you have to wonder about their intentions, right? Are they just trying to understand death? Or are they trying to control it, to exploit it?
Right. Like, is it a noble pursuit of knowledge or something a little bit more sinister? What do you think? We'll be back after this quick break to dig even deeper into that question.
And it's a question that goes way beyond the ministry, right? I mean, humans have always struggled with this stuff, with life, with death, with the big mysteries. So is it wrong to try and figure it out? Is it hubris? Or is it just, part of who we are? Like we want to understand these things.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. And okay, thinking about the veil specifically,
Hmm.
we've been kind of talking about it as this like scary thing, right? This ominous, maybe even evil object. But is that necessarily true? Like, is it possible that the veil isn't inherently bad?
That's a great question. And I think you're right to challenge that assumption. Like, yeah, the veil is connected to death for sure. But does that automatically make it a malevolent force? Not necessarily. It's like, think of it as a force of nature, right?
Yeah.
It's powerful, it's ancient, but it just like a storm, You don't think of a storm as evil. It's just a part of nature.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But still, like, come on. The imagery is pretty intense, right? The whispers, the darkness, the fact that nobody ever comes back, it's a little creepy, to say the least.
Sure, sure. But death itself isn't inherently good or evil, is it? I mean, it's just a natural part of life, right? Like it's the end of every story. Maybe the veil is just a representation of that inevitability, a reminder that our time here is finite.
So maybe it's not about being scared of the veil, but more about respecting it, like acknowledging that it represents something bigger than ourselves, something we can't control or fully understand.
Exactly. It's about acknowledging the mysteries of existence, accepting that there are limits to what we can know, and maybe, just maybe, finding a kind of, I don't know, a kind of beauty in that.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting way to think about it. It's like, yeah, the veil is this reminder that there are things we'll never fully understand, no matter how hard we try. Forces at work that are just beyond our grasp.
And maybe that's okay.
Okay, so maybe the veil isn't inherently good or bad, but it just is. And it's up to us to decide how we relate to it, how we interpret it.
Yeah.
But is there anything in the books, like any concrete clues that can help us with that? Like anything that actually tells us what the veil is?
Well, unfortunately, the books don't really give us a definitive answer. Rowling kind of leaves it open to interpretation, which is both frustrating and brilliant, right? I mean, we know it's in the death chamber, a room dedicated to studying death,
Yeah.
but that's about it.
Right, exactly.
Mm.
And there are all these other weird things in that room too, right? Like the brains floating in those tanks, the time turners. It's almost like the ministry has collected all these objects related to death and time and like the deepest mysteries of existence, but they don't actually know what to do with them,
Yeah.
what they really mean.
Yeah, and I think that kind of speaks to their whole approach to magic, right? Like they're so obsessed with control, with trying to impose order on something that's inherently mysterious and unpredictable.
It's like they're trying to like put death in a box, when in reality it's this vast, complex thing that we'll probably never fully understand.
Precisely. And maybe that's why the veil is there, to remind us of that.
To keep us humble.
That's beautifully put.
So what does all of this mean for us? For the readers, like what's the takeaway here?
Well, I think the veil serves as a really powerful metaphor for the human experience as a whole, right? It reminds us that we're all on this journey, a journey that will inevitably end. But it also, I think, it invites us to really think about the nature of that journey, to ask ourselves what we believe about death, about what might come after.
Like there's more to it all than what we can see and touch and, categorize in our little muggle brains.
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe embracing that mystery, embracing the sense of wonder and awe, maybe that's what makes life truly meaningful.
You're really good at this. I should just let you host.
I think I prefer our current arrangement. Your enthusiasm is, it's infectious.
Ugh, stop it. Okay, so we've explored the veil's origins, we've talked about the afterlife theory, we've discussed how it's connected to death and perception, but there's still one piece of the puzzle that we haven't really talked about. The ministry. What's their deal with the veil? What are they trying to do with it?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one that I think has puzzled fans for years. We know they're fascinated by it, they study it, but their motives are, well, they're not exactly clear. Are they just driven by curiosity? By
Uh,
this thirst for knowledge? Or is there something more to it than that? Like, are they hoping to somehow harness the veil's power for their own ends? I mean, we've seen them do that before, right?
oh, absolutely. I mean, let's be real. The ministry tries to control everything.
Right.
And they're not exactly known for their transparency or their ethical decision making. Remember the
Yeah.
Fudge years? He was like weaponized fear and propaganda.
Right, exactly. They have a bit of a history of meddling in things they don't understand, and that usually ends badly.
Yeah, like hello, the Triwizard Tournament. Like they brought back this crazy, dangerous competition, convinced they could control it, and we all saw how that turned out.
Yeah, exactly. And the Department of Mysteries itself is kind of a testament to that, right? Like, they've got rooms dedicated to studying all this powerful, unpredictable magic, brains, time travel, prophecies. It's like they're collecting things that could potentially cause chaos, all in the name of research.
It's like they just, I don't know, they embody that human desire to control and understand everything, even the things that maybe we're not supposed to understand?
Huh.
Like maybe some things are just better left alone.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Maybe the veil in all its mystery is like a challenge to that impulse, a reminder that there are forces at play that we can't just categorize and control.
Like it's saying, hey, ministry, you can't just stick me in a room and slap a label on me. I'm bigger than that.
Exactly. And maybe that's why it's so unsettling to them, right?
Mhm.
Because it represents this loss of control, this acknowledgement that there are limits to human understanding.
And we all know the ministry hates to admit they don't know something.
Right. Much easier to just pretend everything's under control.
Okay, so it's funny, right? Like, we've been talking about the veil as this big, scary, dangerous thing, but maybe the real danger is the ministry, their arrogance, their desire for control.
That's a very astute observation, and I think it speaks to a larger point, which is that power without wisdom, without humility, can be a very dangerous thing. And maybe the veil, in all its mystery, is there to remind us of that.
Wow, I'm getting chills over here.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's wrap things up. We've covered a lot of ground today. The veil's origins, its connection to the afterlife, its symbolism, the ethics of seeking knowledge about the unknown. But I think the biggest question is still this. What does it all mean?
Yeah, and I think that's a question that each of us has to answer for ourselves ultimately. The veil, like so much in the Harry Potter universe, is open to interpretation. It invites us to explore our own beliefs about life, about death, about what lies beyond.
I love how you put that. Like, it's a mirror reflecting our own individual perspectives and beliefs back at us.
Precisely. And maybe in that reflection, we can find a deeper understanding of ourselves and of the world around us.
That's beautiful. I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about today.
I hope so.
Me too.
Mm.
I always feel like I learned so much from these deep dives. It's amazing how much there is to discover in these books, even after all these years.
It's a testament to the power of good storytelling, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, before we go, I have to ask, what's your personal take on the veil? Like, what do you think happens to those who pass through?
But that would be telling, wouldn't it?
Oh, come on. You can't leave us hanging like that.
I think it's more fun to leave that question unanswered. After all, part of the beauty of the Veil S, it's mystery.
Okay, fine. You win. You're right. It's those unanswered questions that keep us coming back for more, right? That spark our imaginations and keep the magic alive.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe someday we'll all find out the truth about the Veil. But until then, we can keep exploring its mysteries and pondering its meaning.
Okay, that's a perfect note to end on. I'm officially declaring this deep dive a success.
I agree. It's been a fascinating conversation.
All right, folks, that's it for today's episode of The Deep Dive. We had an amazing time exploring the mysteries of the Veil with you, and we hope you'll join us again next time for another deep dive into the magical world of Harry Potter.
It's really amazing, how just one thing, one object can like spark so many different thoughts and interpretations. And I think the veil is like the perfect example of that.
Yeah, no, it's true. It really shows just how deep the Harry Potter world is, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, Rowling doesn't just tell a story, she creates this whole world that you can just get lost in, a world that makes you think and question and want to explore more.
Absolutely. And, with the veil, we have these little hints about where it came from, what it's for. But, like, at the end of the day, it's still a total mystery. Yeah, it's an enigma. But I think even with the mystery, there are still some pretty compelling theories, right? Like the idea that it could be an ancient artifact, maybe even older than the ministry itself. That's super interesting to think about.
Oh, for sure. Like, imagine it's been there for centuries, maybe even thousands of years, just silently watching as the wizarding world goes by. And then we've got the whole gateway to the afterlife theory, which I have to admit, it's kind of terrifying, but also kind of hopeful in a way, right?
Right. I mean, it speaks to that very human need to understand what happens after we die, like whether we find comfort in religion or philosophy or even something like a magical veil,
Mhm.
we're always searching for answers to those big questions.
It's true. And the fact that only people who've seen death can hear those whispers coming from the veil, it just adds this whole other level to the mystery.
Yeah.
Like, what if it really IS some kind of message from the other side, but we just can't understand it?
Yeah, it's definitely eerie. And the connection to the Thestrals too, right? Like both the veil and those creatures can only be seen by people who have witnessed death. It's almost as if they both exist in this in-between space, like on the border of worlds, and only certain people can see them.
Like they're saying, hey, we see you. We know what you've seen.
Right.
Okay, that just gave me goosebumps. But it is pretty profound when you think about it. Like, our experiences, especially with things like death and loss,
Mm,
they really can change how we see the world.
definitely. I mean, think about how Harry's perception of the world changes after he witnesses Cedric's death. It's like a veil is lifted and he's able to see things that were hidden before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've got this ancient mysterious object. Maybe it's a portal to the afterlife. Who knows? And then we've got the ministry, always trying to figure it out to control it. Do you think they'll ever actually succeed?
Well, that's a tough one. I mean, the ministry has a long history of trying to control magic, and it doesn't always go so well, right? Like, think about how they handled the prophecy in Order of the Phoenix, or all those times they tried to regulate love potions and other dangerous stuff. They always think they can contain it, but magic tends to have a mind of its own.
Yeah, it's like they think they can just put a label on something and call it a day.
Yeah.
But the veil, it's not like a cauldron or a textbook.
Yeah.
It's something way bigger, way more primal.
And maybe that's the lesson here, right? That there are some things that are just beyond our comprehension, beyond our control. Maybe the veil is there to remind us of that, that we don't have all the answers.
It's kind of humbling when you think about it, like a reality check for the ministry and maybe for all of us.
I agree. And maybe embracing that humility, that sense of awe and wonder in the face of the unknown, maybe that's the key to really understanding the veil and what it represents.
Okay, listeners, we've thrown a lot of information at you today. Ancient artifacts, gateways to the afterlife, the ministry's never-ending quest for knowledge. But at the end of the day, the veil is still a mystery, and it's up to each of you to decide what it means for you.
Go back to those passages in the books, the ones that sparked your curiosity in the first place. Reread them, think about them, see what new insights you discover, and don't be afraid to share your thoughts with others. Discuss your theories.
Because that's what these deep dives are all about, right? It's about coming together as a community, exploring these mysteries, and keeping the magic of Harry Potter alive. And who knows, maybe someday we'll all know the truth about the veil.
But until then, the mystery lives on.
And that's a good thing. It's those unanswered questions that keep us coming back for more, that spark our imagination, keep the conversation going. All right, so you're probably wondering about the Marauder's map,
Mm-hmm.
this magical artifact from Harry Potter that spills all the secrets of Hogwarts,
Right.
like every hidden corner and every twisty corridor,
Yeah.
even like who's lurking around every corner.
Exactly.
But how did a bunch of Hogwarts students create something
Right.
so ingenious and powerful?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to be piecing together today.
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's fascinating because the Marauder's map wasn't just a product of raw magical ability.
Yeah.
It required this real blend of talents, uh, a dash of daring,
Right.
and just an intimate knowledge of Hogwarts
Yeah.
that only came from relentless exploration.
Exactly. We're talking James Potter,
Of course.
Sirius Black, Remus Lupin, and Peter Pettigrew,
Yeah.
the infamous Marauders, to pull this off.
Right.
They must have practically lived in those hidden passages and secret rooms.
Yeah, they knew the castle inside and out.
These guys weren't just students.
Yeah.
They were Hogwarts explorers.
Exactly, like, their knowledge of the castle was truly remarkable.
Oh, yeah.
Remember when Harry uses the map to sneak into Hogsmeade?
Oh, yeah.
Or how Fred and George Weasley
Yes.
later inherited it
Right.
and took their mischief to a whole new level?
Yeah.
The Marauder's map wasn't just a map.
Right.
It was a testament to their deep understanding of Hogwarts' hidden heartbeat.
It makes you wonder how many all-nighters they pulled.
Oh, absolutely.
Like tiptoeing through shadowy corridors,
Yeah.
meticulously charting every inch of that castle.
I bet they had some close calls with Filch.
Oh, for sure.
But even with all that knowledge,
Right.
they needed some serious magical chops
Oh, yeah.
to bring that map to life.
Absolutely. And each Marauder brought their own unique brand of magic to the table.
They did.
Let's start with James and Sirius.
Okay.
They were practically prodigies when it came to transfiguration,
Yeah.
the art of transforming objects.
Right.
You remember that scene in the Shrieking Shack
Oh, yeah.
where they transform into their animagus forms?
Yes.
A stag and a dog.
It's a stag and a dog.
It gives you a glimpse of their mastery.
Right.
It makes you wonder, could their transfiguration skills have been woven into the very fabric of the map,
It's possible.
allowing it to track people's movements throughout Hogwarts?
It's an intriguing thought.
Yeah.
Like, transforming into an animagus requires an extraordinary level of precision
Oh, yeah.
and control over magic. It's not a stretch to imagine that those skills could translate into creating a dynamic tracking system
Right.
within the map,
Yeah.
pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible with transfiguration magic.
It's like they embedded a piece of their shape-shifting magic into the map itself.
Right.
But what about Remus Lupin?
Yeah. What about Moony?
What role did he play in this magical masterpiece?
Well, Remus was a master of spells and charms.
Oh, yeah.
Think back to his time as the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher.
Mhm.
He was brilliant.
Yes.
While the books never explicitly state his role in the map's creation, it's safe to say he was the brains behind some of its more complex enchantments.
Oh, for sure.
We're talking about a map that tracks hundreds of people in real time,
Right.
whispers insults,
Yeah.
and even hides itself from prying eyes.
That's right. It's like he layered the map with a series of powerful charms,
Yeah.
creating a magical security system.
Right.
It makes you realize this wasn't just a fun project for them.
No.
They were pushing the boundaries of magic and innovation.
Exactly. They were rule breakers,
Yeah.
sure, but they were also incredibly talented wizards
Right.
who weren't afraid to experiment and push the limits of their abilities.
But we can't forget Peter Pettigrew.
Oh, right, Wormtail.
You might be thinking,
Yeah,
what could he have possibly contributed?
right.
But don't underestimate him.
Don't underestimate Peter.
Okay, you've got my attention.
Okay,
He wasn't exactly known for his magical prowess.
right.
So what was his secret ingredient in this magical concoction?
Well, Peter, despite his shortcomings, was a master of concealment. Think about it. He managed to live as a rat,
Right.
hidden in plain sight for 12 years.
Yeah, that's true.
And even before that, his animagus form,
Right.
a tiny, unassuming rat,
Yeah,
speaks volumes about his desire to remain unnoticed.
you've got a point there. His talent for disappearing acts almost makes you wonder if he was the one who figured out how to keep the map hidden,
Maybe.
activating only with the correct phrase.
It's a compelling theory. After all, concealing an object as powerful and valuable as the Marauder's map
Yeah,
would require a deep understanding of secrecy and deception,
right.
skills Peter clearly possessed in abundance.
So we've got James and Sirius's transfiguration talents,
Yes.
Remus's spell mastery,
Mm-hmm.
and Peter's knack for concealment.
Right.
A potent combination.
It is.
But it still makes you wonder,
What's that?
could they have had access to something more? Perhaps they needed a little boost
Yeah.
to pull off something as extraordinary as the Marauder's map.
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay. We know the Marauders weren't exactly afraid to bend the rules.
Yeah, they were.
And Hogwarts is full of restricted areas and forbidden knowledge.
Right.
Could they have ventured into the restricted section of the library,
Oh, yeah?
seeking out ancient texts on advanced magic?
Or maybe they even borrowed some powerful artifacts from a secret collection.
It's possible.
Wouldn't be beyond them to pull off a little magical heist,
Right.
especially if it meant pushing the boundaries of their magical abilities.
It's certainly possible.
Yeah.
We know they had a thirst for knowledge
Yeah,
and a willingness to go to great lengths to achieve their goals.
they did.
Remember, the creation of the Marauders map wasn't just about mischief.
Right.
It was about pushing their magical limits and proving what they were capable of.
It's like they were driven by a desire to unlock the secrets of magic.
Yeah,
And the Marauders map was their masterpiece.
it was.
A testament to their combined genius
Right.
and their unwavering friendship.
Absolutely. But with all their talent and resources,
Yeah.
there's still one piece of the puzzle missing.
What's that?
The magic itself.
Yeah, the magic itself.
What kind of spells and charms could they have possibly layered onto this map to make it tick?
That's the million-galleon question, isn't it?
It is.
It's one of the great mysteries of the Harry Potter universe.
It is.
But we do have some tantalizing clues.
Okay.
And one of them might lead us down a rather dark path.
Okay.
The homunculus charm.
Hold on a second. Refresh my memory on that one.
Okay.
It rings a bell, but I haven't delved into dark magic lately.
Of course, the homunculus charm is a powerful and very dark spell
Right.
that allows a wizard to imbue an object
Yeah.
with a piece of their soul,
Okay.
granting it a form of sentience, the
Wow.
ability to think and act independently.
Okay, now I remember it's dark magic,
It is.
dealing with souls and all that.
Yeah.
But how does that connect to the Marauders map?
Right.
It doesn't exactly scream evil artifact.
Well, think about the map's personality. It's not just a map.
Right.
It's a character. It
Yeah.
can converse with its users,
Yes.
offer snarky comments,
Yeah.
even express emotions.
Right.
Could it be that the map itself is a type of homunculus, imbued with the combined essence of the Marauders?
Oh, that's a pretty intense theory.
Oh,
It makes you think, are we seeing a piece of their souls woven into the map?
possibly.
Their personalities imprinted onto its magical fabric?
Who knows?
That's some next-level dedication to pranking.
It is.
We'll have to unpack that more in part 2.
We will. Yeah, it's a chilling thought, isn't it?
It is.
That a piece of the Marauders' very essence could be woven into the map,
Right.
giving it that unique personality and awareness.
Yeah,
But it would certainly explain a lot about its abilities.
it would. But let's move on to another aspect that's been bugging me.
Okay.
We know James and Sirius were animagi,
Right.
able to transform into a stag and a dog at will.
Yes.
How do you think those animal forms might have played a role in the creation of the map?
An excellent question.
Yeah.
It's tempting to think their animagus forms were just for fun.
Right.
A way to break the rules and roam freely around Hogwarts.
Yeah.
But consider the practical advantages their animal forms would have given them while creating the map.
Okay.
Enhanced senses.
Yeah.
Increased agility.
Right.
Access to areas that might be off limits to humans.
So you're saying they could have used their animal forms to map areas
Exactly.
even the most curious student couldn't reach.
Precisely.
Like a magical version of spelunking.
Exactly. Like imagine a stag, nimble and sure-footed,
Right.
navigating the tangled grounds of Hogwarts, or a dog with its keen sense of smell, sniffing out secret passages hidden behind walls.
They could literally sniffed out secrets.
They could have.
That's such a cool image, a stag and a dog under the cover of night,
Right.
mapping out the mysteries of Hogwarts. I bet Filch never suspected a thing.
Never suspected a thing.
But even with all that, the sheer complexity of the map is astounding.
It is.
Did they have to push any magical or ethical boundaries to create something so advanced?
Well, the books never explicitly mention any morally gray areas in the map's creation.
Okay.
But if we consider the homunculus charm,
Right.
it does raise questions about what they might have been willing to do to
Yeah.
achieve their goal.
It's true. The homunculus charm is steeped in dark magic.
It is.
And even though the map doesn't seem inherently evil,
Right.
using a piece of their souls,
Right.
that's pretty intense.
It is.
I'm curious, what kind of risks might they have faced
Well,
dabbling in that kind of magic?
the homunculus charm can be unpredictable
Right.
and dangerous.
Yeah.
Splitting one's soul is a risky endeavor
Okay.
with potential consequences for
Yeah.
the soul's stability.
Right.
It's possible the Marauders encountered challenges
Yeah.
or even unforeseen side effects during the process.
That's a thought-provoking point.
Yeah.
So even though the map turned out to be this amazing tool, it might have come at a personal cost for the Marauders.
It's possible?
They really pushed themselves to the limit for this project.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
We've talked about their magical talents
Right?
and their willingness to explore both the castle
Mm-hmm.
and potentially dangerous magic.
Yeah.
But there's another layer to this story that we haven't touched upon yet.
Oh, really? What's that?
You're thinking about their relationship with Remus Lupin, aren't you?
Yeah, of course.
Specifically, his condition as a werewolf.
Exactly.
They were fiercely loyal to Remus,
They were.
going so far as to become animagi
Yes.
to help him during his transformation.
To help him through those difficult times.
Could that shared experience, that bond forged through adversity,
Mm.
have influenced the creation of the map?
It's certainly possible.
Yeah.
Their dedication to Remus
Yeah.
demonstrates their empathy and willingness to support each other
Right.
through thick and thin.
Exactly.
Perhaps the map was in part a way to ensure Remus's safety within the castle.
It's a touching thought that
Yeah.
even in their mischief, there was a sense of protectiveness
Yeah.
and care.
Absolutely.
The map could have been their way of looking out for each other,
Yeah.
making sure they always knew where everyone was.
Right.
Especially Remus during those difficult times.
Yes.
It makes you wonder if that empathy is somehow woven into the map's magic. Maybe that's why it feels so alive.
It's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Perhaps the map's sentience isn't just a result of a spell,
Yeah.
but also a reflection of the Marauders' deep connection to each other and to Hogwarts itself.
Yeah.
They poured their hearts and souls into this project.
They did.
And maybe that's what makes it so special.
It's incredible how much depth and complexity we can uncover by examining this one magical object.
I know.
It's a testament to J.K. Rowling's world building
Right.
and the enduring power of the Harry Potter series.
Absolutely.
But before we get too lost in sentimentality,
Okay.
there's another mystery I want to tackle.
Oh.
We know how they made the map,
Right.
but how on earth did they keep it a secret for so long?
Right.
I mean, Hogwarts is full of watchful eyes.
Yes.
From ghosts to portraits to professors with a knack for sniffing out trouble.
Right.
How did they manage to pull off the ultimate magical disappearing act?
Now that is the question that has
It's-
baffled even the most seasoned Hogwarts scholars.
Yeah.
It's a mystery worthy of its own deep dive,
Right.
which is exactly what we'll be doing in our final part.
Okay.
So stay tuned because we're about to unravel the secrets of the Marauders map's incredible concealment.
All right, so we're back
We are.
and ready to tackle the final layer of this magical enigma.
Yes.
We've explored the Marauders' talents,
Right.
their deep connection with Hogwarts,
Yeah,
even delved into the possibility of them dabbling in dark magic.
of course.
But now the big question.
Right.
How did they manage to keep the Marauders map hidden for so long,
Right.
right under everyone's noses?
It really is a testament to their cunning and their understanding of Hogwarts' magical ecosystem.
For sure.
Remember, we're talking about a castle
Yeah.
teeming with watchful eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Portraits that gossip, ghosts that roam the halls,
Right?
and professors like Dumbledore who seem to have a sixth sense for mischief.
Yeah.
Yet the Marauders map remained undetected,
It did.
passed down through generations of students like a treasured secret.
It's like a magical cold case.
It
Where,
is.
where do we even begin to unravel this mystery?
How about were their strategies? Let's start with the obvious.
Okay.
The map's physical form.
Right.
It's just a piece of parchment,
Right.
easy to fold, tuck away, and disguise.
Yeah.
It's not like they were trying to hide a screaming howler or a self-stirring cauldron.
That's true.
It's like hiding a secret message in plain sight.
Right. But wouldn't the magic emanating from the map be detectable?
That's a good point.
Surely someone, especially a seasoned witch or wizard,
Right.
would sense something was up.
Well, that's where Peter's expertise in concealment likely comes into play.
Okay.
They may have woven powerful concealment charms into the map itself,
Right.
rendering it virtually invisible to magical detection.
So it's not just hidden from sight, it's hidden from magical senses as well.
Exactly.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
But what about the professors?
Yeah.
Some of them, like Professor McGonagall,
Right.
seem pretty sharp when it comes to detecting magical shenanigans.
They do.
Wouldn't they be suspicious?
Here's where it gets really intriguing.
Okay.
What if the Marauders cleverly exploited a loophole in the map's very nature?
Okay.
Think about it.
Yeah.
The map reveals secrets about the castle and its occupants.
Right.
But it doesn't reveal anything about its own creation or its creators.
Oh.
It's like a self-contained secret, a closed loop.
So even if a professor stumbled upon the map and activated it,
Yeah,
they wouldn't necessarily know who created it or how it works.
exactly.
It's like a magical black box.
Precisely, the map itself is the ultimate secret keeper. It reveals everything
Yeah.
but its own origins.
Right.
This would make it incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to
Yeah.
trace back to the Marauders.
That's brilliant.
It is.
But even with all these precautions,
Mhm.
wouldn't there be a risk of someone, maybe a curious student or a particularly inquisitive professor,
Right.
trying to pry deeper into the map's workings?
Of course. And that's where the Marauders' mischievous streak comes into play.
Okay.
Remember all those insults the map throws at its users?
Oh, yeah, like Mr. Mooney presents his compliments to Professor Snape
Right.
and begs him to keep his abnormally large nose out of other people's business.
Exactly. Those weren't just for laugh.
You're saying the map's sassy personality was actually a defense mechanism?
It's possible.
Like a magical bouncer telling anyone who gets too close to back off?
Exactly. Those insults were strategically designed to deter further investigation
Okay.
by making the map seem more like a mischievous toy than a powerful artifact.
Right.
They effectively discourage anyone from taking it too seriously.
It's amazing how they managed to turn their playful nature into a security system.
It is.
But there's one more element I find fascinating:
What's that?
the password. I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
Right.
It's not just a clever phrase.
Yeah.
It's almost like a psychological barrier.
You're right. Anyone who uses that phrase
Yeah,
is essentially acknowledging their intent to break the rules,
right.
making them less likely to report the map's existence to the authorities.
Yeah.
It's like a self-imposed vow of secrecy.
It's like they created a secret society
Right.
bound by a shared love of mischief and a promise to protect the map's existence.
Exactly.
It all ties together so brilliantly.
It does.
It's no wonder the map remained hidden for so long.
Right.
It was protected by this combination of powerful magic,
Yeah.
cunning psychology, and a healthy dose of good old-fashioned mischief.
And perhaps just a touch of luck.
Right, because even the most carefully crafted plans can sometimes unravel.
They can.
Well, as they say, fortune favors the bold.
It does.
And the Marauders were certainly bold.
They were.
They pushed boundaries,
Yeah.
broke rules,
Yeah.
and in doing so, they created a magical legacy
Right.
that continues to fascinate and inspire us today.
It does.
The Marauders map is more than just a map.
Right.
It's a testament to their ingenuity,
Mm-hmm.
their friendship,
Mm-hmm.
and their unwavering belief in the power of magic.
It reminds us that sometimes the greatest discoveries are made when we dare to venture off the beaten path,
Yeah.
to explore the hidden corners of our world,
Right.
and to never underestimate the power of a little bit of mischief.
So next time you find yourself yearning for a bit of adventure,
Yeah.
remember the Marauders and their incredible map.
Oh, I will.
And who knows, maybe you'll uncover a few secrets of your own.
You never know.
All right, ready to unlock some Hogwarts secrets. Today we're taking a deep dive into the Room of Requirement.
Oh, this should be fun.
Yeah, you know that magical space that always seems to know what you need before you even do.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to try to figure out what it can and can't do.
Great.
No more scouring through the books for clues. We'll do all that for you.
Yeah.
And joining me to untangle this magical enigma, we have a true Hogwarts scholar.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes.
The Room of Requirement is truly one of the most fascinating and enigmatic elements of the magical world.
Agreed. Okay, so first things first, the room's most famous trick, changing to fit the user's needs.
Right.
We see this over and over again in the books.
Yeah?
Dumbledore needing a loo and finding a luxurious bathroom in Sorcerer's Stone.
Mm-hmm.
The DA finding the perfect training ground in Order of the Phoenix to learn defense against the dark arts under Umbridge's nose.
Right.
Harry needing to stash that Half-Blood Prince's potions book, and the room becomes the ideal hiding spot. But how does it know what they need?
Oh, that's the million galleon question, isn't it?
It really is.
While the books never explicitly explain the mechanism, there's a strong suggestion of some sort of magical sentience at play.
Okay.
You know, it's as though the room can sense the user's intent, your genuine need, and then sort of molds itself accordingly.
Interesting. So it's not just a magical walk-in closet spitting out whatever random thing you might want.
Yeah.
there's a deeper connection there, a reading of the user's mind almost.
Exactly. Think about the times the room doesn't appear,
Yeah.
when Harry just wants to avoid Malfoy and Half-Blood Prince.
Right.
No room.
Nope.
But when he desperately needs to hide from Snape in Order of the Phoenix,
Oh, yeah.
boom, there it is.
What's right there?
It seems to respond to genuine need, not just a whim.
I see, I see. That makes me think about all the stuff the room provides. Furniture, books, even those cleaning supplies for Dobby.
Mm-hmm.
Is it conjuring all of this out of thin air? Could I just waltz in and ask for, say, a vault full of galleons?
Ah, now we're getting into the room's limitations.
Okay.
While it can provide a really staggering array of items, it doesn't seem capable of conjuring complex magical artifacts or substances from scratch.
Okay.
The book suggests that it sort of draws from existing items, perhaps hidden stores within Hogwarts,
Okay.
or even connected to some larger magical network that we don't fully understand.
So like a cosmic lost and found for magical knickknacks.
Hmm.
That's a pretty wild thought.
Yeah,
I remember when Dobby was collecting clothes for Winky in Goblet of Fire.
right.
The room supplied them.
Yeah.
But they weren't brand new, freshly conjured robes.
Precisely. It seems the room acts more as a provider than a creator, particularly when it comes to these more complex objects. The Half-Blood Prince's potions book, for example.
Yeah.
The room offers the perfect hiding place,
Yes.
but it doesn't conjure up a copy. The original book was still out there, hidden by Harry.
Right. So conjuring galleons is probably out of the question then.
Yeah, most likely.
Bummer. But it makes sense. Creating something out of nothing, especially something as magically potent as money, could have all sorts of unintended consequences.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of which, are there any hard limits on what the room just can't do?
One of the most significant limitations, and I think for good reason,
Okay.
is its inability to replicate life.
Ah.
Conjuring a living being is a feat of incredibly complex
Yeah.
and potentially dangerous magic.
Yeah.
It would disrupt the magical balance, even if done with good intentions.
Right. It's not like those conjuration spells we see for, inanimate objects.
Right.
Bringing life into existence is a whole other level of magic, even for the most skilled witches and wizards.
Exactly.
Yeah. But what about the flip side?
Oh, yeah.
What about those who might try to misuse the room?
Uh-huh.
Hiding dangerous dark artifacts, brewing forbidden potions.
Mm.
Could the room facilitate that kind of magic?
That's a crucial question.
Yeah.
And it highlights the potential risks of the room's power.
Okay.
We get a glimpse of this with the vanishing cabinet incident in Order of the Phoenix.
Right.
A misused object hitting within the room led to some serious consequences.
Oh, yeah.
Even chaos, really.
So stashing a cursed necklace in there is probably a bad idea.
Yeah, I would agree.
But wouldn't that mean that the room could become a haven for all sorts of dangerous magical objects?
Potentially.
A black market hidden within Hogwarts?
So it's a chilling thought, for sure.
It really is.
However, the very fact that the vanishing cabinet incident did have consequences
Yeah?
might indicate that there are some built-in safeguards.
Okay.
Perhaps the room itself possesses some magical awareness that prevents the storage or creation of objects or practices that would irrevocably disrupt the magical balance.
So the room might have its own set of rules.
Yeah, it's possible.
Even a kind of magical conscience to prevent it from becoming too dangerous.
It's an intriguing possibility,
It is.
and one that aligns with the idea of the room's sentience.
Right?
It seems to operate according to a certain logic,
Yeah.
a set of principles that go beyond simply fulfilling the user's immediate desires.
That's a fascinating thought. It's like the room is more than just a space. It's an entity with its own internal compass guiding its actions.
Mhm.
But if it can prevent truly dangerous misuse, does that mean it can also recognize and respond to positive intentions?
That's a great question.
Could it in some way amplify good magic?
It's
We'll have to see.
Yeah, it's certainly possible.
Yeah.
Consider how the room seems to tailor itself not only to the user's needs, but also to the atmosphere of their intentions.
Wow.
When the DA uses the room for practice,
Mhm.
it doesn't just provide a space. It transforms into this grand hall, sort of mirroring their burgeoning confidence and collective power.
And their skills improved dramatically in that space. Was it just practice, or was there something more there? Could the room be amplifying their efforts,
Right.
nurturing their magical growth because their intentions were so pure?
It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It really does.
Does the room simply facilitate, or does it actively participate in the magical process, almost like a silent partner?
Right, right. But let's stick with the idea of good intentions for a moment.
Okay.
Say someone needs the room to hide something for the greater good,
Hmm.
an important artifact,
Okay.
maybe even a Horcrux.
Right.
Could the room sense the weight of that responsibility and provide even greater protection, even stronger concealment?
That's a fascinating hypothesis,
Mm.
and it speaks to the room's potential to align itself with the user's higher purpose. Think about how the room protected the diadem Horcrux in Deathly Hallows,
Mhm.
concealed within a room full of vanishing cabinets.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It was almost as if the room understood the gravity of this situation
Mhm.
and provided an extra layer of security.
Wow. It really is like the room has its own moral compass guiding its actions based on the user's intentions.
It's an intriguing possibility.
It really is. But that brings up another question.
Sure.
What happens when multiple people need the room for completely different purposes at the same time?
Oh,
Does it pick a side?
that's an excellent question.
Yeah.
And one that the books don't explicitly answer.
Right.
We know that multiple people can occupy the room simultaneously,
Yeah.
the DA being a prime example,
Mm.
but they were united in their purpose.
Exactly. Yeah.
What if two people with conflicting needs try to access the room?
Say Harry needs to hide from Snape while Malfoy's trying to brew a dangerous potion.
Yeah, right.
Would the room even appear?
It's fascinating to speculate.
It really is.
Perhaps the room has a hierarchy of needs,
Okay.
prioritizing those that align with its inherent nature, its own sense of magical balance,
Mhm.
or maybe it has a fail-safe.
Okay.
In a situation with conflicting intentions, the room just remains inaccessible,
Right.
unable to reconcile those opposing desires.
Like a magical deadlock.
Hmm.
Interesting. But there are those times when the room seems to anticipate a need even before the user fully realizes it.
Oh, right.
When Dobby leads Harry to the room in Order of the Phoenix,
Yeah.
did Dobby somehow program the room, or was the room acting on its own, sensing Harry's need for a secret meeting place?
That's a brilliant observation. Did Dobby, with his unwavering loyalty,
Yeah.
find a way to communicate with the room to act as a sort of magical intermediary,
Wow.
or was the room itself in its mysterious way attuned to Harry's predicament?
Uh-huh.
His desperation to learn defense against the dark arts under Umbridge's reign of terror.
Oh, for sure. It's like the room is constantly vigilant,
Yeah,
scanning Hogwarts for any sign of trouble,
right.
of unmet needs, and then stepping in to provide a solution,
Yeah.
like a magical guardian angel almost.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Thanks.
It reinforces the idea that the room of requirement is more than just a passive space.
Yeah.
It's an active force within Hogwarts,
Mm-hmm.
constantly adapting, evolving, responding to the needs and desires of its inhabitants.
This is making me rethink everything I thought I knew about the room. It's not just a convenient space. It's practically a character in itself.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's this aware, this responsive, does that mean it can be influenced, even manipulated? Could someone with enough power or knowledge bend the room to their will, even for nefarious purposes?
No, that's a question that treads into some dangerous territory.
Yeah.
We've talked about the room's safeguards,
Right.
its inherent sense of balance.
Hmm.
But what if someone with enough magical prowess,
Yeah.
someone like Voldemort,
Oh,
tried to exploit the room's power?
that's a chilling thought. Would the room resist, or could it be corrupted, twisted into something dark and dangerous?
It's a question that goes to the heart of the room's nature, and
Yeah.
one that J.K. Rowling leaves open to interpretation.
Yeah, she does.
Does the room have a will of its own strong enough to withstand even the darkest of intentions?
Mhm.
Or Or could it be susceptible to manipulation?
Yeah.
Its power becoming a tool for evil in the wrong hands.
This deep dive is getting pretty intense.
Yeah.
It's making me realize just how much uh, power the room holds.
Right.
But power can be used for good or evil.
Mm-hmm.
And the room seems to be this delicate balance between the
Yeah.
two. But speaking of balance,
Yeah.
we've talked about what the room can do, what it can't do.
Right.
But what about its limitations in terms of resources?
Uh-huh.
Can it truly provide an endless supply of anything? Or are there limits to what it can offer?
That's an intriguing point,
Yeah.
and one that's worth considering.
Yeah.
We see instances where the room provides an abundance of items,
Right.
but it's never explicitly stated whether those resources are truly infinite.
Yeah.
There's that moment in Deathly Hallows when Harry, Ron, and Hermione are hiding in the room,
Hmm.
and they need food. They're literally surrounded by mountains of stuff.
Right.
But Ron complains about being hungry.
You'd think with all that stuff, the room could whip up a sandwich or two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yet it doesn't seem to happen.
Yeah.
Perhaps the room's ability to provide is tied to the availability of those resources within Hogwarts itself.
Okay.
It might be able to access and redistribute existing items,
Right.
but perhaps it can't conjure them out of thin air indefinitely.
So the room might be bound by the same laws of supply and demand that govern the rest of the magical world.
Hmm.
It can't just create something out of nothing. It has to draw from what already exists.
It's certainly a plausible theory.
Yeah.
It suggests that even the room of requirement, with all its magical power,
Hmm.
isn't entirely exempt from the constraints of the material world.
That makes you wonder about the source of those resources.
Right.
Is there some massive hidden storehouse within Hogwarts?
Mm-hmm.
A magical warehouse full of everything imaginable?
Yeah.
Or is it connected to some other dimension?
Uh-huh.
A sort of interdimensional shopping mall?
Now that's a thought that sparks the imagination.
It really does.
It's a testament to the room's enduring mystery that even after all this exploration,
Yeah.
we're still left with more questions than answers.
That's very true. Wow. Okay. I need a moment to process all of this.
Yeah.
The room of requirement is way more complex than I ever imagined.
Right.
It's like this living, breathing entity within Hogwarts,
Mhm.
constantly responding to the needs and desires of those who seek it out.
It's truly a remarkable space, isn't it? And its very existence challenges us to reconsider the nature of magic itself.
Yeah.
Is it simply a force to be wielded, or is there a deeper consciousness of a sentience woven into the very fabric of the magical world?
Whoa. That's a pretty big question.
Yeah.
But it's one that's hard to ignore when you consider all that we've discussed about the room.
Right.
Its ability to adapt, to provide, to protect,
Mm-hmm.
even to anticipate needs.
Right.
It suggests a level of awareness that goes beyond simple spell work.
Precisely, and it raises all sorts of fascinating questions about the relationship between magic and intent.
Yeah.
Does magic respond to our desires, our emotions, our deepest needs?
Yeah.
And if so, what are the ethical implications of wielding such a power?
Yeah, it's like the room is a mirror
Mm-hmm.
reflecting not only our needs but also our intentions, our deepest selves.
Mm.
But speaking of reflections,
Okay.
there's one more aspect of the room that I find particularly intriguing.
Okay.
It's connection to time.
Yes, the room's relationship with time is one of its most perplexing and potentially profound aspects. We see hints of this throughout the books, from Dumbledore's encounter with the chamber pot full of chamber pots in Sorcerer's Stone,
Right.
to Harry's perception of slowed time during his battle with the Inferi in Half-Blood Prince.
Yeah, those moments always felt a bit off, even for Hogwarts.
Right.
But what does it all mean?
Yeah.
Could the room actually exist outside of conventional time,
Mm.
or even manipulate time itself?
It's certainly a possibility worth exploring. Perhaps the room operates on a different temporal plane,
Right.
or perhaps it has the ability to bend time to suit its purposes,
Okay.
or the needs of its users.
I see.
Think about how the room seems to age objects,
Yeah.
like those dusty relics in the room of hidden things.
Yeah. It's as if time flows differently within the room,
Mhm.
or perhaps it has the ability to pull objects from different points in time, gathering them into its hidden spaces.
Exactly. It's a tantalizing thought, isn't it?
It really is.
That the room might be a gateway to other possibilities.
That's both exciting and a bit terrifying.
Yeah.
Imagine the potential for misuse. If
Yeah.
someone could control the room's temporal abilities,
Right.
they could alter the past, rewrite history, even disrupt the flow of time itself.
You raise a crucial point.
Yeah.
The power to manipulate time is a double-edged sword,
All right.
one that demands the utmost responsibility and
Yeah.
a deep understanding of the potential consequences.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to the true nature of the room of requirement. It's not just a handy space.
Mm.
It's a force to be reckoned with,
Yeah.
a source of both wonder and potential danger.
And perhaps that's the most important lesson of all.
Yeah.
Magic, like the room itself, is a powerful tool,
Right.
but it's up to us to use it wisely, ethically, and with a deep respect for its complexities.
Well said. So to our listener out there, I leave you with this thought. If you could step into the room of requirement, what would you ask it to provide?
Mm-hmm.
What need would you bring to that space? And most importantly, how would you use its power responsibly?
Let your imagination soar, but never forget the weight of your intentions.
Hmm.
Magic is a gift, a responsibility, and a force that should never be taken lightly.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into the room of requirement.
Mm.
We've explored its powers, its limitations, and its potential for both good and evil. But the true magic of the room lies in its ability to inspire our imaginations,
Mm-hmm.
to make us question the very nature of reality, and to remind us that even in a world full of rules, there's always room for wonder.